What is going on YouTube? This is Asteroid. So I'm going to review the bonus reissue package of Nicki Minaj's Pink Friday album, Roman Reloaded. And basically, this project is called Pink Friday Roman Reloaded, the re-up, and it came out in late 2012. Now, Nicki Minaj had a pretty large 2012 with the mammoth album Pink Friday Roman Reloaded, which got to like the sixth single, something like that, sixth or seventh. That had a number of hits like Starships, Va Va Voom, Pound the Alarms, hits like that, plus other songs like Bees in the Trap and some rap charts kind of songs. So it was kind of like a dichotomy of doing EDM and kind of pop rap that was kind of similar to Super Bass, in addition to doing like some hardcore rap type songs to progress like her Roman Zelensky personality. So that's kind of the concept behind it. Like the thing about Pink Friday Roman Reloaded was just the fact that it kind of like I was saying, it kind of did a balance of both, where the hardcore rap songs kind of balanced out Nicki, so she wasn't just seen as like pop rap. Because in case folks were saying that she was selling out and that type of stuff, but this brief EP, which only has 8 songs, kind of does like the same thing. Was just like a very furious and amalgamated. Like this album, this EP is definitely going to get a rave score. It's not often. I think I'm going to go ahead and say that this EP is going to get a 10 out of 10, because it's not often that I give EPs 10s out of 10. But I just look after it. I just feel like the fury and the overall concentrated package of this project was just really amalgamated. Like all of Nicki Minaj's best moments happen. You get like the makeshift type stuff. You get like some you get some makeshift type stuff. You get some club bops on here. You get like some kind of presentable kind of songs and hardcore rap type songs. You just get like a good amalgamation. Like the only real thing I feel like was missing off this particular project was just an EDM type sound that she did on Roman Reloaded. But apart from that, she covers most of the styles that she did on the first 2 Pink Fridays. And this has a real consolidated kind of feel. I mean, there's 3 singles on here, which I was surprised by. I figured there'd only be like 1 and possibly 2, but there were 3 large hits on here that had a lot of good vibes about it. And this is just an overall good package, and it's kind of overlooked nowadays. I just kind of look after it like I kind of question how many folks refer back to this project when you think of songs by Nicki Minaj like Bedrock, Super Bass, Starships, Pound the Alarm, Anaconda, some of those type hits that Nicki Minaj kind of had, and some of her ones from like Queen and further. But I kind of look after it. This is kind of one that's just not talked about commonly, or this is kind of like the off the wall kind of album that seems to kind of be really kind of cast aside. I don't know if this project went platinum or even gold. I think it probably went at least gold, but I just would have to say it's just the fact that you look after, this is a good one to kind of dig up and remember some of these. The highest charting song off this project was High School, and that's a real bubbler. I just would have to say that one really throws stuff together as far as that kind of goes. And I look after it, just being able to talk about how some of these projects kind of go. It's a real, like I said, it's a concentrated package. Definitely, it's a concentrated package. Definitely has some good vibes. And I would say the only real thing that this album just did not do, I mean, it carried the most of the styles, but minus like the EDM hit, I think that's about the only thing it really could have used. But it's still getting like a rave score. So I would just have to say that this, we'll talk about that as time goes along. But basically, there were 3 singles off this project. The first single was The Boys. Now, this didn't hit like complete. This one didn't completely break into the mainstream, but it did chart pretty well on like the hip hop and R&B type songs chart. But I would have to say it's a pretty nice bubbler. Definitely one that deserves more attention. This is definitely an overlooked Nicki Minaj song. What I would say about this song is definitely like a makeshift club song, which I don't see too much. This is kind of a new valve for me. This is definitely something. This is a Nicki Minaj song I feel like you could hear at work, but it's not like the typical kind of relaxed and just kind of more. It's not like the typical relaxed and just kind of platonic kind of vibe of like a typical makeshift song. When you think of some of those, like the songs you listen to 3:30, 4:30 p.m. when you get off work, this is kind of one where you might be at work. This is kind of one where you might be at work, but you can kind of play some jivey music to kind of get a little bit crunk to in that sort of sense. It's kind of the vibes of just maybe you have like some extra kind of privileges or parameters to be able to be a little bit more relaxed and just kind of loose and that type of stuff. So this kind of comes off as like a makeshift club song. It's very breezy and workaday. Has a nice chorus on here. Cassie does a pretty good job with that. It's just an overall kind of like it just melds like the two styles of makeshift and outgoing real well, and it's kind of work, kind of play. I just kind of look after it as this kind of a mixture between the two. It blurs the lines really well, I would have to say. This is a good example of a song that, yeah, it's SFW, but then it's kind of NSFW at the same time. So I just kind of like that concept as far as that kind of went. Freedom is the second single, and this is another one that just was strictly on like the hip hop and R&B type charts. It's too bad that the boys didn't chart higher because that was like a real clever concept of a song and a real kind of catchy, kind of synthy beat with like some kind of acoustic guitar licks and like the chorus and that type of stuff that really worked well. But Freedom is like a looming kind of club song. This is definitely one that kind of reminds me of this sort of Nicki Minaj off the first Pink Friday, the kind of like there's like a song where she says like for life on the chorus, and I forget which song that is off of Pink Friday, but she says moment for life. I think that I don't Freedom reminds me of the song Moment for Life off the first Pink Friday. It just has that same kind of looming introspective kind of feel. It's definitely a very kind of deep club song. It's a club song, but it's just kind of got more thought-provoking, Nas-like lyrics in that sort of sense. It's just a very sprawling and looming kind of feel in a nightclub. This really feels more emphatic and kind of powerful and engaged as far as that kind of goes. So I just would have to say that's just a nice one. It's dramatic, and I kind of like how it covers that in like a good feel. It's this kind of one. It's not really like a lighthearted and kind of just frivolous and more down to earth one, but I do like the concept of it just being like a very sprawling kind of club cut as far as that kind of goes. So it's a different valve for Nicki, is because Moment for Life kind of did that in a sense, but this kind of has like it's kind of like a variation of that, but just kind of in that same sense. That's a nice one. And then a real surprise from Nicki Minaj that I just hadn't heard a song like before was High School. This is the highest charting song off this EP. And this happened to be an overall hit. It got over 160 million plays up to this point on Spotify. So it's a pretty good one. Has Lil Wayne on here. They both do good verses and such. Lil Wayne tears this song apart. But it's just definitely like a dramatic kind of romance gem. I feel like this is a real romantic kind of song, but it just has like some real good tension on the song. I just would have to say what really makes this song a winner is the chorus. I really feel like the chorus just put it together, and it kind of gives like chills and goosebumps of a kind of feeling as far as that kind of goes. But it's just a real thumping energy. Just has like a real kind of dramatic pitch towards it. This really makes for like a kind of sultry kind of song that just works in like a good even sense as far as that kind of went. It's just a real surprise out of the blue for Nicki Minaj. Up to this point, it didn't really seem like she had done songs like this. The production is really not like immediate in terms of how it happens. So this is kind of like a more like orchestral and kind of production on High School is very unsung. It's just a lot more orchestral, and it's just not like a typical kind of song as far as that kind of goes. Not immediate in the context of just being like a superb. It's not like it's a bad production, but it's just kind of not like a complete immediate one in terms of what you'd expect for like some sort of social kind of cut. But it is kind of like a minor club song. I can see this being played at a club, something like that. But it just kind of has a lot more various energies. It's kind of tougher to discern what sort of avenues it would kind of be at, but I can think it can just be played in amongst a lot of places. But I do see it as like a minor club song as well. It just kind of has like just a real, it's really just boils down to this the emphasis of how emphatic the song is and how well it connects. It's just kind of a good one for that sense as far as like a new kind of curveball that Nicki Minaj kind of threw on this song. So this kind of works for that. Basically, there's 8 songs on here, so the only real song I don't recommend is just Up in Flames. I'll just go ahead and say it like that. Me saying since I'm giving this EP a 10 out of 10, the only real song I didn't recommend is just Up in Flames. And the main reason for that is it kind of has like a gospel-like chorus that just doesn't really suit the song. It's kind of a dramatic type feel. This has a real kind of, I mean, I can see this as being like a particularly dramatic and kind of more sophisticated type club song, but just the energy the energy simply didn't match up with the context of what the production was trying to do. It just kind of felt kind of like an amalgamation of styles that just didn't quite connect as well. Pretty much like the only real blunder off of here. I mean, it's a dramatic song, a little bit in the same pretense as Freedom, but just a little bit more kind of thunderous kind of energy about it. But I just didn't quite see as much of vibe behind it. But that's really the only real mismatch for me in terms of these 8 songs. Vava Voom is an almost song just because it's on the original Roman Reloaded, and this is just basically like a late EDM cut. Vava Voom is just kind of like a late EDM cut, just one of the ones. It's definitely a highlight from the original Roman Reloaded. This has vanilla kind of energy as far as that kind of goes. That one continues to be a highlight on this project. I would have liked, like I said, I would have liked another EDM song like this song as far as like a new one. But to talk about some of the songs that are not the singles, like I feel like I'm Legit and I Endorse These Strippers are two definite nightclub hits. Like I'm Legit has like this real kind of LMFAO type energy. It's a real crunk gem. This feels like you're really getting turned up and really getting wasted on this song. Has some real kind of synthy kind of goodness on here. It's just a real kind of one for that sort of context is in terms of like songs that like Pitbull, LMFAO, and Broken Side do in some of that context. It's almost like a crunk core song. It just really has like that kind of crunk core kind of energy. It's interesting kind of get Nicki Minaj doing such a thing. So that's just an easy kind of club highlight. I Endorse These Strippers is just like a nice strip club song. This one has like a real flittery kind of beat on here. It's just a sleazy kind of gem for like a Friday night out. Tyga and Brinks do a good job on here. Tyga had a pretty nice verse. I was more inspired than I had seen him in a good while. So that's a nice one as far as that kind of went. It's just an overall nice strip club kind of real kind of creeping and flittery kind of bop as far as that kind of goes. So it's good to get Nicki Minaj just to see what she thinks of strip clubs because that's another avenue that I hadn't seen too many gems from her in terms of that sort of thing as far as getting like, so you get a strip club song, an LMFAO type song, a makeshift kind of club song with the boys. High School is like a dramatic kind of romantic song. And then Hell Yeah was another one. Hell Yeah was like a this one's kind of a late day kind of makeshift bubbler. Hell Yeah is kind of like a late day kind of makeshift bubbler. Just really has like that evening kind of 5:30, 6:30 type feel about it. The hook is pretty damn good. I definitely think this Parker cat who's on the song did a real nice job with it. This feels like a song for things getting ready to happen. This would kind of be like a pretense and a precursor to a song like I'm Legit and I Endorse These Strippers. So this is just kind of one where maybe not where you just got off work, but just kind of you're just in the process of getting those last few things done for the day. Just something like 5:50, 6:15, 6:30, something like that, where just the sun is setting, especially in the autumn or winter, something like that. And it's just kind of like, you're going to go out tonight, just get ready for some good vibes as far as that kind of goes. So yeah, I talked about all 8 of the songs on here as far as that kind of goes. So this EP gets a 10 out of 10. Definitely liked all these songs. Just to talk about these a little bit more, like the 2 club songs would be I'm Legit and I Endorse These Strippers. The Boys is kind of a mixture of like The Boys is kind of a vanilla club bop that's makeshift in terms of just being a mixture between SFW and NSFW in that sort of sense. And then like Hell Yeah is kind of a kind of late day kind of tune for getting ready to step out. Freedom's kind of a looming club cut, and High School is like a dramatic one. So that's just kind of the context about it. And then Vava Voom's a continual style from Roman Reloaded as far as that kind of goes. So that's just kind of the concept about it. I just would have to say, yeah, 10 out of 10. The social score I will give, basically, I would say I think the social score would get a 10 out of 10 also, just because there's some immediate ones. Nicki Minaj is a pretty big name, so enough of these hits kind of have. I mean, the only real thing, maybe I would give the social score like a 9.5, just because it doesn't have a hit that's like a number 5, number 1, number 10 hit single like she got on Roman Reloaded. This is just kind of a bonus package for if you know about Nicki Minaj. This is like a secondary thing to bring up, but it's not something that, like I said, I don't think this album went multi-platinum as far as that kind of went. So it doesn't really, I give it a 10 just because of the quality of the songs. But in terms of like the actual social vibe for folks who may not actually know enough about Nicki Minaj, it doesn't have a bona fide kind of after effect of having those number 1 or number 2 singles as far as that kind of went. But it does have plenty of quality on here. So because Nicki Minaj is such a large name, I assume that you know enough to be able to say that you would know about some of these. It's just kind of secondary music from her, and not in terms of quality, but just in terms of like the knowingness of it. This is kind of like a one to kind of research a little bit. So in terms of the future, like Nicki Minaj has said, she posted on Twitter or something like that that she's gonna drop her next album in October 2023. So that's on the way and such. But she did drop like Queen Radio Volume 1 back in like August of 2022. So that's some recent stuff that you have for her. But this is just an overall gem. So I would just have to say, definitely fuck with some of these gems. Got some good social moments on here.